For the benefit of the panel members and the audience, I'd like to mention here, we have with us Lieutenant General VK Sharma, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh. Professor Dr. MP Kaushik, Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh. Professor Dinesh Shukla, Honorable Chancellor, American International University, West Africa. Professor Ajit Kumar V, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Skyline University, Nigeria. Professor Shailendra Singh, Director, Indian Institute of Management, Ranchi, and Mr. Richard McClellan, Managing Director, UK India Business Council. Honorable VC, sir, do we have your permission to start?
Yeah, you can please start.
Thank you, sir.
Parivartan mev sthirmasti. That means if anything is certain in this uncertain world, that's change. It is historically acclaimed that only those could
Rachit, you may start, please.
Yes, sir. Parivartan mev sthirmasti. That means if anything is certain in this uncertain world, that's change. It is historically acclaimed that only those could survive who transform themselves with it. Similarly, to excel in a business environment, which is characterized by volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, the majestic powers of resilience and invention are to be harnessed by the leaders and professionals. The pandemic put forth the situation to sustain and win, where the organizations with the tools of innovation and creativity were able to sail through. Who knew someday the most crowded markets would confine to a 5.5 inches screen? In those circumstances, we found businesses restructuring, reorganizing, and redesigning their processes to exploit the well-served opportunity in crisis. We commenced this conference with a great vigor in our previous session, but now it's the time to give it a magnificent conclusion. A very warm good evening to our esteemed guests and dignitaries, faculties and fellow students. I, Rachit Agrawal, on behalf of Amity Business School, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh, welcomes you all to this valedictory session of 9th International Business Conference on Resilience and Reinvention of Businesses in this VUCA world. Firstly, I would like to acknowledge the gracious presence of our respected dignitaries. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sir, Lieutenant General VK Sharma, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, respected Pro Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. MP Kaushik, respected Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor, Sir, Professor Dr. Anil Vashisht, guests and keynote speakers, Professor Dinesh Shukla, Chancellor, American International University, West Africa, Professor Ajit Kumar V, Vice Chancellor, Skyline University, Nigeria, Professor Shailendra Singh, Director, IIM Ranchi, and Mr. Richard McCallum, Vice Chairman, UK India Business Council. We are really honored and grateful for your gracious presence. A pessimist complains about the wind, an optimist tries to change it, and a leader adjusts the sail. The sail for this notion were adjusted by a person who is not only a great motivation to all of us, but also a visionary who led Amity University, Madhya Pradesh to the greater heights of academic and co-curricular. He is none other than our respected Vice Chancellor, Sir, Lieutenant General VK Sharma, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal. Before inviting him for welcome address, I would like to take this privilege to give a brief introduction about him. Sir VK Sharma is an alumnus of the erstwhile King George School, now called the Military School. He joined boarding school at just the age of 10 years and passed All India Higher Secondary Examination in 1968. Thereafter, he joined the prestigious National Defence Academy and passed out as Permanent Commissioned Army Officer from Indian Military Academy on 31st March 1972. He was granted the President's Commission in the Corps of Signals of the Indian Army. He served the Indian Army for almost 40 years and retired from the second highest rank of Lieutenant General, a 3-star and a flag rank of the army. During his service, he held several command and staff appointments and participated in Operation Rakshak and Operation Vijay during Kargil War. He also served for almost 7 years in Jammu and Kashmir Valley in Srinagar in the ranks of captain, colonel, and brigadier. He has also been an excellent academician in addition to being a military leader. He did his BTech in communication engineering from College of Military Engineers in Pune and Military College of Telecommunication Engineering MCTE, MTech from Pune University and Masters of Management Studies from Osmania University, all in first class with honors. He has also been an instructor at Institute of Armament Technology, Girinagar, Pune, which has now been redesignated as Defense Institute of Armament Technology. He has had the unique distinction of standing first in all academic courses. During his service in the army, he has traveled to every nook and corner of the country and also headed military delegations to France, Germany, and USA. During his service in army, he served his last assignment as commandant of MCTE, which is not only a premier IT and communication engineering institute, but also a center of excellence in electronics and cyber warfare for Indian Army. For his meritorious service to the nation, he was awarded the Ati Vishesh Seva Medal by the Honorable President of India on 26 January 2011. He has also held the appointment of Colonel Commandant of Corps of Signals for almost period of 4 years. He is founder vice chancellor of MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior. The university had been adjudged the best private university in Madhya Pradesh by CMAI under his able guidance. He has also been instrumental in introducing a host of best practices aimed at fostering academic excellence in the university. He is also holding the additional charge of being the officiating Vice Chancellor of MIT University, Maharashtra since August 2020. Whether it's military or education, he is passionately engaged in the service to the nation. So we are really blessed to have you here with us. And now, without taking any second further, I kindly request you to address this virtual conference. Please, sir.
Thank you very much, Rachit. To begin with, I extend a very hearty welcome to the galaxy of academicians and industry experts who have joined us for this valedictory function today. Professor Dinesh Shukla, Honorable Chancellor of American International University, West Africa. Professor Ajit Kumar, Honorable Vice Chancellor of Skyline University, Nigeria. Professor Shailendra Singh, Director of IIM Ranchi, and Mr. Richard McCallum, Managing Director of UK India Business Council. Dr. M.P. Kaushik, who is the Pro Vice Chancellor of MIT University, Madhya Pradesh. Dr. Anil Bishesh, Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor and Director of MIT Business School. Mr. Naresh Kedia, Dr. Asta Joshi, Dr. Monika Sharma, all the other panelists who are here, and last but not the least, all the participants who are listening to me today. In the morning, we had a session in which a galaxy of academicians and industrialists were also there. So I would like to mention here, for the information of all those panelists, especially in the morning, we had with us Mr. Kishore Jayaraman, who is the Honorable President of Rolls-Royce, India and South Asia. We had Professor John Dewar, who is the Honorable Vice Chancellor and President of La Trobe University, Australia. We also had an address by Professor Gishe Dwang Samten, who is Padma Vibhushan awardee and is the Honorable Vice Chancellor of Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies in India. We also had Professor Peter Hurd, Deputy Vice Chancellor and Provost, Sunway University, Malaysia. And we had Professor Pradeep Nair, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Taylor University, Malaysia, who had addressed the gathering regarding VUCA. The topic itself, resilience and reinvention of businesses in VUCA world, is very apt because of the COVID situation that the world has been seized with. And it calls for new knowledge for the students who are young, who have not seen this, who have seen this pandemic rather in the early stage of their life. And they are now seized with what volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity really mean. The questions that were being asked by them: when will the university open? When will the pandemic end? When will the vaccinations be available? By what time? What population will be vaccinated? Whether the vaccination will be free of cost or will they be costing? Whether there will be any change in the academic structure, whether the examinations will be carried out, how the system will change. There were a host of questions which were there. And to begin with, there was volatility, there was uncertainty, there was complexity, there was ambiguity, everything was there. The students have all seen that. As far as businesses are concerned, we all know that the hotel industry, the industry related to aviation, the protocol industry, they are all taken a big hit because of the prevailing situation and the policies of the government. Even the train services have been suspended. So even the transportation and the buses had taken a big hit and resulting in lowering of volumes, not only volumes, but also the methodology of businesses. And people had to really find new ways, new techniques, methods like work from home were adopted. And the key here was that the one who could adapt fastest, the one who could change fastest, the one who could take decisions fastest, one who could try and analyze the situation fastest, and one who could see the dynamics of the change, various factors responsible for the change, and see this change as an opportunity. They are the ones who came out successful, including the education world. Like we saw the change, we switched on to online classes within 3 days of the closing of the universities. We started webinars, we started international conferences, we started online sessions with all the hiccups which were there in the beginning, but then later on, everything became under control. And things are happening now better than they would have happened in the physical world had this pandemic not taken place. If this pandemic had not taken place, I would not have the opportunity of getting such a galaxy of speakers from across the world on this international conference today. Definitely, it would have been a challenge for all of you to travel and for us to invite. And even when there was no pandemic, I think all of you may not have been able to spare so much of time to come here and address the students. The benefit which we are now getting because of your benign presence is thanks to the situation, that the opportunity that we got because of the pandemic, which otherwise has been a curse on the society. Now the word VUCA, as I said in the morning, was coined by the Army of United States in the Army War College in 1987. And that was after the Cold War had ended. And thereafter it has continued to be used by the everyone. But as a matter of fact, I would like to mention to my students that the word VUCA has been coined later, but the situations of volatility, uncertainty, and complexity and ambiguity have been prevalent right from the beginning. If we see the human race, once we started in the Stone Age, it was, the challenges were different. Not that there were no challenges. The mankind has always faced challenges. At that time, the challenges were survival. The challenges were food. The challenges were trying to live and fight with the harsh environment that the planet had. Then gradually as we advanced, I remember in my younger days, when I was selected for National Defense Academy, I was one of the lucky ones who was selected and who had to work very hard to undergo that very tough training and then get a job. But in those days, there were no private universities. The government colleges and universities were very far and few. And to get admission in engineering or in medical was such a challenge. People just could not study beyond 12th. Many of them had to find clerical jobs. Private jobs were not there at all. It was such a big challenge. And the government policies had not opened, economy had not opened up. The salaries were too low. Those were the kind of challenges which we had when we were young. Today, the industry has opened up. The challenges are much more. And today, it is the uncertainty, turbulence, rapid and unexpected changes, the dynamism, disruption, hyper competitions, high velocity of market changes, and the flux, which is a challenge. To handle this, we need the ability to change very rapidly, ability to learn new techniques fast, to learn new skills, and to ward off preconceived ideas about businesses. That kind of ability is required, and we need the main quality which is required, as was also brought out by a number of speakers in the morning, is adaptability. That means we have to adapt towards the situation, accept the situation, anticipate the issues, and shape the situation, understand the consequences, and delineate various courses of action that are available to us, and plan. While planning, too much of advanced planning in such situations is not possible. So therefore, the question that we need to ask while planning, what is my task? What resources do I have? And resources includes time. Time is a resource. And how far can I plan? If you answer these three questions correctly, after having analyzed various aspects, then you will be able to choose the right course of action out of various courses of action that you have delineated, and after having studied the pros and cons of each course of action. In the morning, what was brought out by the president of Rolls-Royce was that cash was a challenge during the pandemic. Cash. People just did not have cash. How to run the business? Then, of course, the next was to cut down upon the requirement of cash. And how that was managed was really an eye-opener from the way we were told in the morning hours. The education system itself is undergone a change. The courses which are now relevant will become irrelevant. The technologies which are now coming up will become more relevant. In the computer science, which is today the #1 preferred choice of all here in India, we find that it is not the computer science which was relevant 4 years back. Today, we want people who should be able to do programming. We want people who should know about cybersecurity. We know people who should know about Internet of Things, Internet of Everything. We want people who know about big data. We want people who know about data analytics. We know people who could manage the big networks, who could manage the routers. So these things were not there about 4 to 5 years back. That is how much changes have taken place. Speciality, yet ability to know everything. That is what is required. And above all, I say, what is required is the behavior. How the person will behave in different situations. How much capability to handle ambiguity itself. His capability to handle the volatility, capability to handle the uncertainty, to work under uncertainty, under all these conditions. We need such type of people. And today in the morning address by the Buddha monk who was there, who was the Vice Chancellor, he mentioned that how important it is to train the mind, to make the mind cool. to ensure that the mind does not get clogged by ambiguity, to ensure that the mind still is capable of thinking in spite of all the challenges, and the mind should be able to sort out between what is chef and what is corn. The mind should be able to delineate the correct course of action, should be able to think, and should be able to analyze the situation without making it too excessive or undermining the situation. So that kind of capability can only be possible if the mind is intellectually strong and if there is a certain amount of spiritualism and strength in the person, which takes us back to our culture of meditation, our culture of keeping the mind concentrated, seeing only the eye of the fish, which was seen by Arjun when he was asked, and others were seeing that we are seeing the trees, we are seeing in that there is a toy fish and all that. So that with that, I think I would welcome all these speakers, and I'm sure we will all gain from the knowledge that they have. And I wish this session, validity session, all the success today, all the very best. Thank you very much for giving me this time, and Jai Hind.
So we are obliged to you for your immensely motivating words from you, which set the great pace for the further proceedings. Thank you very much, sir.
To begin with today's discussion, we have with us Professor Dinesh Shukla. He's the Chancellor at American International University, West Africa. Professor Dinesh is a person of high integrity and knowledge. His rich and extensive experience of 46 years in executive positions is truly commendable. He founded American International University, West Africa in year 2007 to bring American education to Africa. Professor Dinesh in medical and business industry shows his dynamic approach and personality. Sir has also been awarded with the Education Leadership Award in the year 2016 for making a remarkable contribution in the field of education. Now, I would like to call Professor Dinesh to make this event a memorable one by sharing his insights from his experience and commence our discussion.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for inviting me. I'm honored and privileged. Lieutenant General Honorable VUCA Sharma, the Vice Chancellor of Amity University, said it all. I don't know who can add more to it. All we can add is maybe our personal thoughts and address the issues accordingly. Reminds me, he told us that the struggle for humankind has gone on since the Stone Age and is still going on. We are fighting with nature. Reminds me of what we learned in school from eminent scientist Charles Darwin in his paper of natural selection, said two simple things: struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. And that even today stands true and tall. Let me first of all have this opportunity of welcoming all these illuminaries, all these people who are joining from all over the world, especially Professor Ajit Kumar, Vice Chancellor of Skyline University, Nigeria, Professor Shailendra Singh, Honorary Director of Institute of Management, Ranchi, Professor James Ka, Honorable Vice Chancellor, City University, Malaysia, Professor Kaushik, Pro Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Richard McCallan is MD of the UK-India collaboration, and all the participants to this very, very important conference which has been organized. We all know the definition of VUCA: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. But the term which shows that we have to have the adaptability to overcome our situations now, has been exemplified, has been, I would say, magnified by the COVID situation which occurred a couple of years back. I would say the VUCA is a problem, but VUCA is a solution. VUCA, in my word, V stands for vision. Your institution, your business, or even if you are a student, your worker should focus on the vision and never let go of that vision. The U stands for understanding. Understanding the present, understanding the complexity, which is the C, with courage, so that we do not compromise our vision. And lastly, for the ambiguity, I would say the adaptability. It has been said all over again, adaptability. And I would add one more situation to that, and that is stay positive. Positive influence has a lot of solutions in life. You can look at it in any which way, and that will guide you. So have a positive attitude towards the current situation and see how it can be addressed without compromising your vision, your understanding of the business or your responsibilities. And you should have the courage to withstand the test of time, because time tells it all. I started American University in Africa about 11 years back with a focus on health science, because I know the need of it. At that time, I had the vision to set up the medical school, health science schools, including pharmacy and nursing and all that, because I found that there's a lot of void in Africa. 1.3 billion people, the richest continent on earth, the poorest people on earth. Now I see, and everybody realizes the need. That is the vision part of it. Sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong. Follow your heart. I would always say, follow your heart with a clean young heart. And as we say, we all are karma yogis in this world. I look at what our honorable Prime Minister has done in last 5 years. We had not been able to achieve in last 50 years. And when we see that, the vigor, the strength, the motivation, the focus is always there, which makes us different. We have the ability to overcome this crisis very easily and in a better way. This is a method in which we can change for the better. It might be surprising, we collaborate with American universities, and Columbia University used to send students to our universities for a trimester. But because of COVID, they could not send in last 2 years. So now our professors are taking classes in America. Now that is the strength of your own self and recognition by everybody else of your ability. India is recognized so well in this world for a lot of things, the most important being democracy and the superior power of thinking and adaptability. Lieutenant General Honorable Sharma said everything. He said everything, that we had so many issues in the past when we were studying. There were only government universities. Getting admission was real tough. Forget about paying. Payment was very little. Now the issue has become, there are more universities and the question becomes payment. So there are changes which occur, but it is available. And it is very commendable to bring this particular conference on the table for all the people to understand that we have the ability, stay positive, stay focused, do not, do not worry about issues. Consider issues as challenges. And when you overcome those challenges, you feel proud. That is what we do. I had the opportunity to meet the Honorable Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. He comes to this small country like Gambia. And we ask, why? Why are Indians coming to Africa? That's the soft diplomacy, because this world is one world and we are one people. So let's make India proud. We are Indians at heart. We'll always remain Indians at heart. And Jai Hind to everybody. I will let all the other speakers speak. I thank you for this opportunity. I would like to thank the organizing secretary, Professor Anil Vashisht, for organizing this. And of course, the conveners, Mr. Naresh Kedia and Ms. Dipali Soni, for being so persistent in trying to get all of us. I tell you, it is my pleasure and privilege to be here. I wish all of you good luck. Jai Hind. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Your rousing words have really pumped up the students, and your acumen have given us a sense of how the business world works. Thank you so much.
We feel extreme pleasure to have with us today Professor Ajit Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Skyline University, Nigeria. He has completed his graduation in the field of botany, zoology, and chemistry, and then he went to Andhra University to complete his Masters of Business Administration in the field of Human Resource Management. After completing Masters, he chose BU to complete his PhD in Business Administration. He has started his career in teaching as assistant professor in SSVP College of Management Studies, and then he trained students as a senior faculty member at ICF-AI. He then moved to Bahrain Training Institute as a lecturer, and after working for 1.5 years in Bahrain, he came back to India to join SIBM Bangalore, where he worked as deputy director as well. Now, Sir Ajit has been part of Skyline University for last 7 years and is at position of Vice Chancellor. I may now request Professor Ajit to come forward and continue with today's discussion. Please, sir.
Thank you, Rachit. So let me congratulate the organizing team of the entire who has worked so hard to organize this event today. I think the topic of the conference is very relevant because all of us are going through tough times. Last 2 years have taught us so many things. As the earlier speakers have said, it has given us a lot of opportunities. But I would like to especially thank Professor Naresh for being in touch regularly with me and ensuring that I'm part of this conference. I'm privileged and honored to be part of this. And I would like to convey my greetings to all the members who are present in this platform, to all the faculty, students, and the dignitaries who have joined on this. So coming to this business in VUCA world, resilience and reinvention of business in the VUCA world. I think all companies today will have to reflect on what worked, what did not work during the pandemic in the last 2-3 years. That itself will give us a lot of inputs so that they can reorient themselves and move forward accordingly. So it's very essential for all organizations to reflect. The second important thing is to recommit to the workforce and focus on well-being and giving importance of health, because this is the pandemic taught us very important thing of taking care of your employees, and actually not only on physical, psychological, but also financial concerns, because a lot of companies have went through a lot of ups and downs. And this is very important for all organizations to look at how we can look at not only physical, psychological, and also financial concerns, both at home and workplace, because that helps in getting the human connection, which will help you in having better engagement in future. And we also have to, the organizations have to look at how to re-engage and redeploy the workforce. Now, today, I think pandemic has opened new challenges, the need for reskilling, the need for reallotment of people, some new challenges coming forward. So that is also very essential where employees have to look at retraining, reskilling. I remember as Lieutenant General VK Sharma said, we could go into online in 3 days. I'm sure what all efforts would have gone in those 3 days to train the internal team to meet up the challenges. There's a lot of work that the organizations have to do. Then now we also have to look at rethink about work, workforces, and workplaces. So things have changed. See, today we are having a virtual conference. People from all over the world are coming and talking. There's no need for you to travel, right? You, for example, universities can get in touch with companies through online. You can. So we'll have to look at how we are going to work. I'm not saying that online teaching will replace face-to-face. That will never happen because face-to-face will have its own importance. But we can definitely look at where you can integrate this online teaching, where you can connect with the industry, and how even the day-to-day tasks of the organizations, how they can be improved. For example, even student counseling, student advisory services, all these things today can be carried out online. Then another important thing is reboot HR and people, operations, and people are very prior importance because we will have to change, we have to update people. Today, all of us know technology is changing. We could talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about robotics, we talk of things, a lot of automation happening all over the world. And another important challenge what we have is a lot of millennials coming into the workforce. Now, the millennials are not the same workforce who are ready to work for 20, 30 years to climb the corporate ladder and be successful. They want to end their career very fast. They want to be on their own. They want to be consultants. They want to start their own business. They're not ready to wait for 10, 15 years or 20 years or 30 years the way we waited for us to be successful and move in. Today, they have their view of thinking is different, where they're looking at settling down after 5 years, earn the money, invest in somewhere, be successful and look at it. So that's also going to be a major challenge. That's why you find a lot of companies looking at entrepreneurship, where they are promoting their own employees to come up with ventures, supporting them, right? All big companies today across the world do this, and this is going to help them to get it done. So I think these are the 5 important things which all organizations should be looking at. One is to reflect, next, reflect on their own internal practices, then recommit and ensure their employees that we are there to take care of your physical, psychological, and financial requirements, re-engage your entire workforce. Then you have to completely rethink about your work, workforces, and workplaces, and you have to reboot HR and people operation priorities. So there's not of need for training people and getting it done. Now, this pandemic has raised a lot of concerns, and as per a survey that's conducted by McKinsey and KPMG, they found that employees across the world feel there is increased job insecurity, a tendency to work more hours for the same pay because you're working from home or some extra thing, a deterioration in human relationships at work, and a reduction of trust at work, difficulty of new colleagues and external workers to integrate, a reduction in the job opportunities available, a reduction in creativity due to reduced personal interactions, a reduction in the ability to learn from others, an increase in the use of AI and individual data monitoring, and reduced pay transparency. So these are some of the concerns which have been raised by the employees across the world, which has been brought out by McKinsey and Deloitte. Now, what are the employees looking for? So where organizations should look at so that they will be able to be successful in the VUCA world. One is more flexibility and autonomy to decide when and how to perform work. Some of us were new to this work from home. IBM has been doing it for the last 20 years, but because the pandemic forced all of us to think from work from home, look at the other options. MS Teams was there, Zoom was there. We were not using it, but I think the pandemic forced us to use these platforms and they were readily available. These all platforms were available right from before. Then increased digitalization of workplace and attention to cybersecurity, and also build trust between colleagues across hierarchies, and the skills that they need to perform. The job will be different, so we'll have to train employees about that. And decision making should be more decentralized. And most important thing is performance evaluation more focused on results and achievements, and reduced opportunities to travel and work in different environments. And they also feel that their jobs will not exist in future and they have to relocate or upgrade themselves. And about 10% of the employees feel that their jobs become redundant and they have to update themselves and become successful. Now, if you want people to do it and what organizations to do it, so at workplace, all organizations should be ready for a dramatic change in day-to-day tasks. We have to look at how technology can be used in the place. You should be definitely looking for human skills. There is no substitute for human skills and human connection. Yes, technology will help you, but definitely we need human people. We need to train people on values, ethics, and beyond reskilling towards lifelong learning and resilience. So that's very important for organizations today, because if you are not teaching your leaders or the heads, they will not be able to pass it on to the team members down the way. The deliberate redesign of work and new forms of leadership. So we'll have to focus, all the organizations have to look at this. We're talking about customer-centric leadership, the new forms of leaderships, but end of the day, what makes successful is where you're able to achieve your goals and achieve the vision of the organization. Now, we are also looking at having a workforce where you have tapping it from a diverse workforce. So everybody today talks about what we call it as diversity, but at the same time, we also have to look at focusing on performance and also monitoring to trust. Today, having people with that sense of belongingness, commitment, you find less in the younger and younger generations, because they're very focused what they want and how it is to be done. Now, policy makers have to intervene. All companies will have to look at a change in their policies. Gone are the olden days, the way work is being done. So there should be a shift in the HR policies, the way you look at timings, the way you look at benefits. There's a complete need which has to be done. And that is also needed to be done at the workforce. Then connectivity plays a very important role. So for example, today, how you are connected with your employees. Yes, definitely the digital revolution is in full swing. The future is here, but it is very unevenly distributed, because even availability of data is not uniform across different parts of the world. So we have to ensure that the required infrastructure is available so that everybody is able to get the required platform that is being there. So you have to align technology with the future of work, and you use more hands of people and train more people. The more emphasis today relies on not only reassuring them. That's what, if you take care of your employees, they will take care of your customers. That's what Richard Branson says. You customers will not be happy unless your employees are happy, because employees are the people who directly interact with the customers and get it done. And finally, when you look at even the businesses, they have to step back and reimagine the work. But definitely when you're reimagining work, there's a lot of cost involved. There's a lot of changes that is to be brought in, and where all organizations have to look at how to reimagine work and how to do it so that they can meet the challenges of the future. And I think individuals have to have new mindset, and they should have more soft skills. They should be more what we call trained on how to be aligned with people, societal requirements, values. And the government also should be looking at how to support reskilling and providing better infrastructure so that we are able to carry out the business. So not only businesses, not only individuals, not only organizations, we will have to look at these things that will help us in having it done. Personally, if you look at, we have changed last 2-3 years. I think I look this as an opportunity. Yes, we were also closed for 2-3 months. We went on online, but it gave us a lot of opportunities. The pandemic gave us a lot of opportunities. Today, the professors from Singapore, India, US, UK come interact with our students because the technology has given this option. I think it's a boon, especially when you look from African continent perspective. So all the resources that are available globally, and a lot of universities which are providing free resources, which have been very useful for these students and getting it done. So I think these are my personal views. And I think I have most of the things that I've commented have also come from the Deloitte, McKinsey, KPMG reports, which have done a lot of extensive surveys across the people, across the globe, where I've added. So personally, I feel you have to take care of the people and the human touch, because I'm sure how organizations have taken care of their people in the pandemic will have an impact in their rankings in future. If you have taken care of your employees during the pandemic and reassured, they will be with you lifelong and ensure that they will contribute to your organization. If you have not taken care of your employees, definitely it will have an impact on your rankings, your ability to attract talent. I think this is a testing time, not only for individuals, even for companies. And I think in due course of time, we will know which companies have performed well and were able to nurture and be with their employees and move forward. And I would like to thank you, all the organizers, for giving us this opportunity to interact and be with all of you on this platform. And students, I would say the world is full of opportunities. Aim high, never underestimate yourself, and put in your best. And if you're putting in your hard work, result will come to your feet. It's only a matter of time. And I wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We truly love the way how you talked about, especially the managing people in these changing times. We are eternally grateful to you for enriching us with your immense experience. Again, thanks a lot, sir.
Now, we have an enormously profound speaker with us, Professor Shailendra Singh. I would now take the opportunity to acquaint with him to everyone. He has more than 34 years of post-PhD research and training experience, which embraces a vast and varied experience in training, administration, and consultancy. Coming on to his education, Professor Singh has accomplished his Masters of Arts in the field of Psychology from University of Allahabad, and also completed his PhD in Organizational Behavior Studies from IIT Kanpur with a score of 9 out of 10. Professor Shailendra Singh is currently the director of Indian Institute of Management, Ranchi. And before this, he was the Dean of Research and a senior professor at Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow. Professor Singh has delivered numerous keynote addresses at premier universities, institutes, and business schools around the world, which includes IITs, IIMs, IIITs, Banaras Hindu University, University of Cambridge, Aston Business School, University of Kelania, to name a few. And we feel hallowed today with his incidents at MIT University, Madhya Pradesh. I now invite Professor Shailendra Singh to address the audience with his prudent knowledge in the field of research and education.
Thank you. Thank you, Sanskar. Thank you for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. Let me say already Lieutenant General VK Sharma and Professor Dinesh Shukla ji and Professor Ajit Kumar ji has expressed his views on the subject. So there will be a lot of repetition if I just go on explaining the terms. So I will be trying to share my experiences, what I have done to deal with VUCA word in my institute. The statement that is a very old cliche, necessity is the mother of invention. So as has been already said, that we had all those platforms already, but were not used so frequently. As a professor of management in IIM Lucknow, I used to have online classes for various continuing education programs, executive programs, but they were not at the scale on which we were doing. When pandemic hit and there was a lockdown, it took 15 days to get into online mode, and today almost all the courses that we are having in IIM Ranchi are being run on online mode. Again, as it was said, I would like to reinforce, the pandemic has created lots of disruption. Companies have closed, people have lost jobs, people have lost lives. But this pandemic has also taught us certain new lessons. What are those new lessons? Today, you are organizing such a big conference for which you may have spent $1 million. Even then, you would not have been able to get all these speakers at one platform on one day. So you have got this opportunity because now the process has been opened where we can connect online. So this has sent this opportunity, whatever resources we had. Now we have honed our skill to use those resources. Like word of wisdom given by Darwin has been quoted, the adaptability, in the word of it is being said that it is not the best of his species who are intelligent, are most strongest one, but the one which are adaptable will survive, and that you have seen. So same thing we are saying, that in the case of VUCA word, we must have the adaptability. The word flexibility is also being used. See, in those organizations like Kodak, which did not see that digital camera is coming, and they got vanished from the business scenario. Similarly, many other organizations which were very extraordinarily performing, because of the disruption, they have lost their space in the business world. So we have to be very vigilant. What has been said, vision. So in vision, we have to be vigilant. What is happening all around, we have to see, and we have to plan, we have to go act on the issues that we can see in near future. But when the disruption is of the scale which we have received this pandemic, then perhaps no planning is possible. And that time it is said that whatever is the best possible action in the situation, that should be taken. And what else can be seen, learning and getting the input from other best practices and implementing, to hope that things will be better. Let me just give you a sloka which was written centuries ago, but has that lesson. It says, Pustukastha natu vidya nachapalhast gatam dhanam kage kale samutpanne tad vidya tad dhanam. What is the meaning? There is a lot of wisdom written in the book, but that's not your wisdom. There is a lot of money you may be having all around, but that's not your money. Whatever at the time of need you can use, that is your knowledge, that is your wisdom, and that is your money. So this being flexible, being adaptable, and being very much understandable and what is called agile. So ambiguity is dealt with agility. Ambiguity is done with adaptability. So these 4 words that have been said by Professor Shukla, that V for vision is a carving out volatility. U for uncertainty is a carving out through understanding. And C is a complexity that is dealt with communication and the competency. And A, that is ambiguity, that is again adaptability and clarity. So if we have all these things, then definitely we are going to shape better. What resilience have been used? See, resilience is nothing but being strong, coming out strong in the face of adversity. I will say whatever response has been to our pandemic situation by our government under the very limited resources is a definitely laudable, and our reaction has been very, very adaptable. There was no better solution than the lockdown. People have opposed it, but now they realize that yes, our country has actually led the world order by having this kind of step, and then see upscaling in the situation of difficulty. See, we are not only the supplier of this vaccine for our own country, we have supplied to multiple countries. So the same company is producing vaccine for multiple countries in multiple names, but the main formula is the same. And today we are considered the vaccination destination, and multiple countries are seeking. So when opportunity arises, exploit the opportunity. That should also be the thing. And I would like to say resilience is a characteristic, not at an individual level. Resilience at the organization level, resilience at the social system level, and resilience at the physical level. And let me assure that we Indians are considered great resilience all over the world. And see, one thing that we are recognized all over the world is called transformational management, turnaround expertise. Like you may be aware of Mittal's steel industry forest. He has purchased 6 mills and then turned them around. And you know that after that, what has happened. Similarly, Tata Motors has taken over Debu Motor and has turned it around. And now things are very different in Debu Motors. Similarly, you take Rolls-Royce, similarly you take other steel company, which was the pride of UK. Now that has been purchased by Tata Steel, and we are trying to turn them around. So this capability of transformational leadership is something which is recognized among Indians. We should be sticking to that. And let me just also say the leadership quality, even in academics, have been recognized world over. And Indian leaders are leading multiple business organizations, business schools, even including Harvard Business School, where Bombay University graduate Sri Khan Datar is a dean of Harvard School, and we have the luminaries who are present in this conference are leading multiple academic institutions world over. So the people's leading strength, that is what will again be recognized among Indians, and put all together. We coin a term like you have VUCA, we have the term hero. That's part of emotional intelligence research. What is hero? Hero is hope. H stands for hope. And E stands for energy or emotional intelligence. And R stands for resilience. And O stands for optimism. You try to become hero, you can circumvent any problem. That's what can be seen. And I would like to bless dear students with the small share that is often quoted by our Honorable Prime Minister. हौसला जब कर लिया है ऊंची उड़ान का, हौसला जब कर लिया है ऊंची उड़ान का, तब फिजूल है कद पूछना आसमान का, तब फिजूल है कद पूछना आसमान का. Wish you all the best. Have whole world is yours. You can win if you have the characteristics of resilience, you have the characteristics of hero. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for deeming us worthy of your gems of knowledge. We are truly blessed and warmed with your courteous presence. Thank you for telling us the interrelation among these four words as well. I'm sure that the students have benefited a lot with your words. Thank you once again.
The next distinguished personality to honor us with his presence is Mr. Richard Macklem. Mr. Richard is at present Vice Chairman of UK India Business Council, promoted from the post of Managing Director in 2019. UK India Council is a renowned facilitating agency which helps UK businesses to succeed in all means in India. Before Business Council, he floated a startup named Flying Fox in 2013 as Managing Director, which used to operate in tourism industry. Mr. Macklem is a distinguished graduate from University of Cambridge. He possesses expertise in the field of international relations, international politics, strategy, history, and methodology. After university, he joined the John Swire and Sons Management Trainee Program based in Hong Kong and Pakistan from 2005 to 2007. He was manager Delhi and North India for Cathay Pacific Airways. Also qualified executive program in management and finance from INSEAD Singapore. Even after being into such a demanding job, he is able to dedicate considerable time for social cause. He is an active member of Certification Advisory Board, British India Standards, and Vahini Scholarship Advisory Board, as well as non-executive director of an educational organization named Education Made Universal, EMU. Being an entrepreneur himself, he is engaged in actively mentoring young entrepreneurs. We are truly honored to have such a versatile personality amongst us. Now, without taking any single second further, I would like to welcome Mr. Richard Macklem on this virtual stage to share his thought process and knowledge with us. Sir, please.
Thank you. I'm a much better listener than a talker. And so really, I'd like to be listening to what you, the audience, have to say on this subject. But you've kindly invited me to talk, and really, I'm honored by the invitation. My thanks to the Honorable Vice Chancellor of the University and his colleagues, especially Anil and Naresh, for asking me to speak today. I'm especially honored to be giving an address among so many esteemed speakers from around the world. People far more qualified than me to speak on this subject of resilience and reinvention in business in a volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. This is not going to be a standard speech about business. Here's what I'm not going to do today. I'm not going to give you the wisdom of my years in business. I'm not going to give you answers. I don't have lots of solutions for you. I'm not even going to talk about the pandemic directly. But I do have questions. I do have things that concern me that I would like you to consider. Maybe they concern you already. If they don't, maybe over the next 10 minutes, you will start to share my concerns. And more importantly, think of answers to my questions. For example, rather than ask, what does resilience and reinvention mean? Should we first consider why we need resilience and reinvention in the first place? What do I mean by that? Well, when I hear people talk about the future of business in a VUCA context, my sense is that the implicit requirement, the ask, is tell me what learning, what strategies, what evolution we can deploy so our businesses and we can cope, can remain competitive, can survive. It's almost like we are saying, how do we change, open brackets, so we can keep on doing business as usual, close brackets. I know that's not quite fair, but I wonder if this might be the wrong way to consider the problem. Perhaps we should ask the question, does the way we do business today, the way we run our businesses today, the way we consume from business today, contribute to, maybe even cause this VUCA world? What is it about modern business that contributes to our sense of vulnerability and uncertainty? If that's not clear, let me rephrase it. Is a VUCA world something that exerts a force on business to which business must adapt, respond? Or is business exerting a force on the world and contributing to this VUCA-ness? I don't know the answer, but I don't think the answer is simple or clear-cut. I wonder if you see where I'm going with this. If we just focus on the topic of resilience and reinvention of business, with the objective of understanding how our businesses survive in a modern world, I wonder if we're starting from the wrong place. For two reasons. First, just as we humans are part of the natural world, so are businesses, which after all are collectives of human endeavor towards a shared purpose, are part of the natural world. We and our businesses are inextricably connected to the world around us. We're not isolated or separate from it. And secondly, do we implicitly risk assuming we must cope with VUCA, we must get by, we must accept it as our modern fate, accept our inability to make a better world? Why should we accept a VUCA world? Let me expand on the first point first. I'm a businessman, not an environmentalist, but what worries me is that we see our businesses operating in isolation. We think we have to fix them, we have to adapt, but are we missing the bigger picture here? We humans think of ourselves as individuals living apart from nature, but we are not individuals apart from nature, and nor are our businesses. They are not islands. They have to live in symbiosis with the natural world. They do not, they cannot survive apart from it. Yesterday, the COP26 conference formally finished in my home country, the UK. I don't know if you've been following it. Many of you will have. Others will have experienced it as a headline or a tweet, if at all. And even when we know what COP26 is trying to address, it sometimes feels outside of our own felt experience. It feels like something for someone else, for governments to address. So when I tell you that in the last 24 hours, since the end of the conference, about 100 square miles of Earth's tropical rainforest will have been cleared, that's just a number. So let's give it some scale. I live in Goa. Goa is only 1,500 square miles. So during the 2 weeks of the COP conference, a forest the size of Goa was cut down. And with those trees, the world lost hundreds of plant and animal species. Hold on, you're thinking, isn't this a speech on VUCA and business adaptation? Why is this guy talking about trees? Well, I have a purpose in talking about trees. What is the value of a tree? It creates oxygen, it removes CO2, it binds topsoil, it's a home for pollinators and birds, it provides fruit, it provides shade. So many complex interlocking values. How do you put a value on that? Well, we don't. We cut the tree down and we turn it into a few thousand rupees of timber. Then, to us, it finally has some value. So my question is, do we need to revisit our value metrics before reinventing our business to keep doing what they do? Is our sense of value causing this VUCA world? What's the wider point here? You can't keep on extracting natural resources from a finite system. You can't trust in inexorable growth. You can't turn natural resources into trash quicker than the earth can process them without hitting some planetary boundaries, without massive biodiversity loss, which is what we're doing today. So I would argue we should be thinking about the resilience and reinvention of business in that context, not in isolation. In isolation, you're treating a symptom, but what's the cause? What's the context? So far, I've talked about my concerns, about problems, actually about defining the problem statement better. Let's lift our gaze a bit and consider what solutions might look like. I'd like to break this next part, the remaining part of my talk, into two parts. Given the context I just outlined, one, where do I think business should be heading to meet VUCA challenges or stop contributing to a VUCA world? And secondly, what skills do people such as yourselves need to make better choices and decisions? Let's start with the first. For me, it's relatively simple. All our business choices should be geared towards a circular economy. By that, I mean models of production and consumption that include sharing and reusing and recycling and leasing and repurposing. Models which close the loop on raw material use, where the value of a product or a component is preserved for as long as possible, where product design is geared towards longevity, and all of it underpinned by the use of renewable energy. Last week, I talked to two companies at polar opposite ends of size and scale, which sort of demonstrate what I'm talking about. One of my biggest clients is a $30 billion multinational commodities firm. And they told me last week that they're on the point of launching a 300-ton earth-moving vehicle powered solely by hydrogen. It turns out, and I didn't know this, they are the leading developer of hydrogen power in the UK. And then the same day I met a tiny one-woman company which takes old plastic bottles off the beaches of Goa and turns them into the most beautiful, amazing carpets, rugs for children. In their own way, at completely different ends of the spectrum, they're making a difference. They're thinking circular. And I think our businesses have to think circular in everything we do. Please don't think I'm being negative here, just talking about managing decline, about struggling along. As I said earlier, do we have to accept a VUCA world? Can we aim for a better one? A circular economy looks to me like a better one. It would stimulate innovation. It would preserve the biosphere and our natural resources. It would create jobs and prosperity for you, for my kids, for generations to come, which is vital. I mean, let's be frank, without an income, why would anyone listen to any of what I'm saying today? And it would open up many, many new business models. My second part here is, what are the skills you need in a VUCA world? I said I'm not going to give you advice, and I'm not, but I'd like you to think about some questions. I think these questions are important to answer, and you are the key to answering them. In fact, India is the key to answering them. Because to confront VUCA challenges, we need new ways of working. We've never had to face challenges like this before. Frankly, our governments, our companies, our social institutions are not geared to meet them. Our system is not set up for it. So we have to upgrade how we solve problems to answer big questions. Questions like, what new sense-making do we need given globalization and the exponential growth of technology? How can you all lead a prosperous life which doesn't involve exponential growth in a material extraction-driven economy? How can business prosper, returning value to shareholders and be a net positive? How can business not just survive, but thrive, and not necessarily in an I win, you lose dynamic, but through closer collaboration? Even if I had a list of skills that you need to answer these questions, I wouldn't give them to you. You have to work them out for yourself. But I think you should think about these questions. How do we make better choices as consumers, as business leaders? How do we make choices which are good for all, not just good for me? How do we seek to keep understanding the world as it really is, not reality that only reinforces our own opinions or sense of identity, not confirmation bias? How do we actively seek to be proved wrong? How do we embrace evidence that shows we are wrong if it helps us understand reality and our problems and our businesses better? How do we learn some humility, learn to embrace doubt? Because one thing I'm certain of, certainty is really dangerous. If I'm certain of my views, why bother listening to your views? And if we're going to make better decisions for ourselves and our businesses, we first need a sense of shared values. If we look hard, even if we disagree with someone fundamentally, somewhere there will be a shared value, a shared interest. How do we look for those things first, rather than the things that divide us? To do that, we need to be open. I said at the beginning, I'd rather be listening to you. I meant that. I'm not certain about anything I've said today. I might be wrong. I'd love to hear from you. But if you've listened hard, you will have heard me use the word value a lot. I've given it 3 meanings. I talked about value metrics, how we need to rethink them first. I talked about retaining value for longer in a shared, in a circular economy. And I talked about shared value, finding things that unite, not divide us. To that list, let's add a 4th. As business leaders, your jobs will be to create value. And I would suggest you cannot do it over the long run without factoring in all these other concepts of value that I've mentioned. That is not easy. I'm struggling with it every day. And so I wish you luck with the challenge. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, sir. Your words were really arousing for all of us. Your session was full of enthusiasm and deep insights that may help in the practical life and our future journey. Thank you very much, sir. Whether it's World Bank or IMF, all are the resultants of international conferences where the best brains of the world come together to create a change. Here comes the most awaited moment of this historic international conference. It's the time to reveal the names of title holders of Best Paper Award, a recognition to all those affluent researchers who have put in unbelievable efforts to excel this achievement. Undertaking research requires a lot of hard work, passion, and zeal to reveal the unknown. In line of followed tradition, this year also we have received overwhelming research papers and scholars who have come to us from across the globe. The session went through multifarious proceedings to select the elite out. 2 parallel sessions were duly organized for research paper presentations, which was judged by a panel of experts, including Mr. Manoj Saxena, Regional Coordinator for Center of Entrepreneurship Development, Madhya Pradesh, Professor Rajiv Dwivedi, Professor Anand Srivastav, and Professor Sanjeev Saraswat. We received in total 114 research papers, which were critically scrutinized by the jury, and 88 amongst them were selected on the basis of content, conciseness, and cognizance. It was a tough grind to find and extract and establish a decision for the judges among these attempts of acclaim. In fact, each research presentation from the eminent 53 scholars who came to present here with us were par excellence. Among such high excitement and anxiety, I take this honor to invite our respected Vice Chancellor, sir, to announce the results of Best Paper Award.
Good afternoon, Rachit. It is not an easy task to announce one name out of 53 persons who presented the papers. But the person who has been selected by the board for the Best Paper Award is Mr. Saurabh Juneja. But at the same time, the others, those who have not been selected, does not mean that their papers were not at par. Maybe some of them might have been even a shade better than this one. It is only the perception of the judges, probably, who have selected this one. So those who have not got the award or not been selected, please do not feel bad about it, because the researchers, their work speaks and nothing else. And to be sitting on judgment to judge whether a paper A is better than a paper B is a very difficult task. And I can say here that there may be errors in our judgment. But that notwithstanding, the result which I am declaring is based on the results which have been given to me by the panel of experts. And I'm sure that those other papers which were presented, 53 of them in parallel sessions, might be as good, or some of them might be even better, but it is because in such a short time to judge out of 53, the best paper, you will all agree with me, is a Herculean task. So my heartiest congratulations to Saurabh Juneja and others, my compliments that you have come forward, you have presented the papers to the students, those who are listening to you. The knowledge of the students and all listeners has been enhanced, and you have contributed to the society in knowledge building. So my compliments to you all, those who presented the papers. So thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. And I like to mention here, sir, all those 53 scholars who presented the papers, those papers have been published in the ebook, which have been for the conference. So, and certificates will be given to them in terms of the presentations that they have made, and the paper have been selected for publication, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And congratulations to Mr. Saurabh.
Sir, Mr. Saurabh, would you like to say something? He's one of the panelists, sir.
A very warm good evening to everybody present, respected VC sir and everybody in the panel. I'm very, very thankful for Amity University for organizing such a wonderful conference. It's always been pleasure listening to people with various backgrounds coming up with various research objectives, and you get to have loads of information coming in, and then you get to see the perspective of the various people. And the quality of the content that actually you get to get in touch with is way ahead than what you can expect to gain from anywhere else. And I also thank Amity University for providing me a chance to present my paper. And I'm also thankful to the organizing secretary, Deputy Pro VC, Professor Dr. Anil Vashisht, for making this happen. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We learned a lot from your exposures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, I request the dignitaries to accept our sincere appreciation and honor for sparing their valuable time and sharing their insightful journey with us. As a mark of earnest gratitude, MIT University Madhya Pradesh takes delight to share the e-memento to Professor Dinesh Shukla. Thank you, sir, for sharing your vesting experiences. Professor Ajit Kumar. Thank you, sir, for bequeathing us with your sophisticated understanding of the subject. Professor Shailendra Singh. Thank you, sir, for making it the most precious experience. Mr. Richard McCullum. Thank you, sir, for your pleasant revelation and valuable advices. Thank you to all the speakers for their significant contribution to the worthy culmination of this mega event.
Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from the soul. As we come to the close of this valedictory ceremony, I now invite Mr. Naresh Kedia, whose dedication and working style never fails to motivate us, the convener of the conference. I request you, sir, to please propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Rachit. It's been a wonderful day of great knowledge that we have been receiving from the academician, industry stalwarts, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Before proceeding to vote of thanks, with the permission of Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, there has been some questions that has been sent by the students. So with your permission, may I ask to the stalwarts?
Please go ahead.
Thank you, sir. One question which is for Professor Shukla. Sir, you mentioned about how it is important to be karma yogi and one should focus their energy in the right place. How do you think that in today's time, the companies are more towards profits maximization, concentrating more on profits and not on the wealth maximization of customers, of their employees? They are crony capitalism has crept in because of the changing landscape of the businesses.
Thank you for asking that question. I would say that it depends on the vision and the mission of the institution or the business which is based on. If it is only the focus is only money, then they are going to act accordingly. But their real wealth lies in their customers, in the people they are serving. The institution will do well if the students are well. You know, a university is known by its faculty, students, and administration. But the students are the most important thing. That's why if the institutions or the universities or the businesses focus not on money, but on uncompromising vision and mission they have set forth, and if that is correct, then money will automatically follow. I think so that is very, very clear in being a karma yogi, because karma yogis keep on doing what is right. First of all, you should know what is right. And then you keep on doing what is right and what is beneficial, not just to you, not just to your institution, but to everybody around in the world, because we live in an integrated world. So I hope I can answer that question in whatever little way I can. Thank you very much.
That was apt, sir. One question for Professor Singh. Sir, you mentioned how it is the survival of the fittest, and how you said and conveyed to the students that hosla buland rakhna hai aur aage badhna hai. So my question to you, for students in the changing time of VUCA world, what are the new skill sets that you are teaching at IIM Ranchi, or what are the new thought process which you are setting or giving to students, which can be inculcated to other parts of the countries and other students as well?
Thank you, Professor Kedia, for this question. Like after pandemic, resilience has come up as a most important skill. Soft skills, which we talk about in a bundle of soft skills, which we talk about as emotional intelligence. And then third, learning how to learn. That is what is required, because whatever we teach in 2 years may not be relevant after, say, 5 years. So learning to learn and learn new things, that is very, very important. Learning how to learn, that is important.
Right. Thank you. Last question for Mr. Richard. Sir, the terminology VUCA, it's inherent from so many years now. The world is changing, but there is still a bit of confusion. Students generally confuses between volatility and uncertainties. So if you can bring a clear picture on how businesses can differentiate between what is being volatile and what are the uncertainties in coming scenarios.
Wow, what a tough question, Resh. I'm not sure I understand the difference between volatility and uncertainty. I mean, volatility implies that things are subject to dramatic change in either direction. Uncertainty implies that you don't know which direction they're going to go in. They're both difficult things to deal with. And, you know, I think I talked about this a bit in my speech. I think, well, I'm not going to go into it again, but, you know, these are definitely things that you guys have to think about, that businesses have to consider these days. But I think it should be seen in the perspective, in the bigger perspective.
Sir, thank you. Thank you. Thank you to the dignitaries. It's been a wonderful experience of enrichment throughout the day. I'll just propose the vote of thanks. When we initially started to define the theme of this conference, these prophetic words by Nobel laureate Bertrand Russell kept resonating in my mind. It's coexistence or no existence. And what better example of coexistence there could be when you see the best academicians, entrepreneurs, managing director, vice chairmen of the world come together for sharing ideas and the way forward. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the keynote speakers, Professor Dinesh Shukla sir, Professor Sailendra sir, Mr. Richard McCallum sir, Professor Ajit, all the speakers of the inaugural session, which will include Professor Peter Hurd sir, Professor Gasse Nawang Sampan, Professor Pradeep Nair, Mr. Kishore Jayaraman. My sincere thanks goes out to you. My sincere thanks to Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Lieutenant General VK Sharma, Pro Vice Chancellor Sir, Professor Dr. MP Kaushik, Deputy Pro Vice Chancellor and Organizing Secretary of the conference, Professor Dr. Anil Vasist, all the deans, HOIs, HODs, faculty members, and my dear students. It is indeed a proud moment for all of us here as International Conference on Resilience and Reinvention of the Business in VUCA world is towards its extremely successful culmination, if I may say so. I, Naresh Kedia, convener and a proud Amitian, deem it great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks. On behalf of Amity Business School and entire university, I wish to extend my heartiest gratitude to all the speakers of the conference. I would also like to thank all the faculty members of Amity Business School for contributing towards its success. My sincere thanks to Mr. Sodi and his IT team for helping us out. I would like to congratulate all the students of Amity Business School for putting in their heart and soul to make this conference a great success. And I'd also record my thanks to the sponsors of the conference, Manas Group, Career Launcher, Renessa, Times Group, iCounselor Tech, Avon Fitness, Anshia Jewelers. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for being part of this conference. It's been a wonderful experience for Amity Business School and Amity University, Madhya Pradesh. And as our Honorable Vice Chancellor always mentions, we believe in maintaining long-term relationship with all our guests and will do so, sir. Thank you so much. It's been a wonderful experience. I request the students to keep logged in, and thank you, guest and keynote speaker. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of MIT Business School, MIT University, Madhya Pradesh, I would like to extend a special thanks to our dear corporate partners for ABC 9 2021, Avon Fitness Machines, Anshia Dwellers, Time Institute Gwalior, and specially to Mr. Darpan Dikshit, Director of Time Institute, Manas Group as Manas Power and Infrastructure, and Manas Polymers, iCounselor EdTech Bhopal, Career Launcher Gwalior, Renaissance Gwalior, and Spoon of Cravings. We are really grateful to all of you for your support. MIT University envisions a long-term relationship. We forever wanted this bond to blossom. We are beyond thankful to luminaries for all of your contributions. Experiences you shared were really enriching for all of us. We owe you our gratitude.
Thank you.
A good event never ends in the world. They take only a pause and keep us waiting for the next. Now, Sanskar Gupta,
And I,
take your leave as host for today. Thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, sir.